Hi everyone. Today I'll be explaining how to estimate story points and activities. So let's start. So to estimate the story points and activities, there are two approaches. First is adaptive approach, which we also call as agile, and second is predictive approach, which we call as waterfall method. So under this adaptive approach, there are three methods or techniques that can be used to estimate the story points. First is Fibonacci scale, second is t-shirt sizes technique, third is large, uncertain, small technique. So let's discuss the Fibonacci scale. So in the Fibonacci scale technique, we will estimate the effort required to complete a task or implement a user story. So in this technique, as we can see that the points are given based on the point. So the next point would be the sum of previous two story points. So here we can see that uh, 1 plus 1, we have sum up the previous two story points and we get the next story points. Similarly, if we sum up these two story points, 1 plus 2, then we got that 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and similarly we can evaluate or evaluate the other story points. So based on the complexity of the user story, we assign this Fibonacci numbers. So this would be the estimate. So probably usually a sprint is of 2 weeks, that is 14 days. And in most of the organization, they assign either 1, 2, 3, 5, or 8. As probably if they think that probably this user story will take more days than that, they will break down that user story, and similarly tasks would be assigned. But if the user stories in some of the organization may go up to uh, 28 days, that is 1 month. So 13 points can be given in that case. So let's discuss the next technique, that is the t-shirt sizes. So in this technique, we estimate the user stories based on the t-shirt sizes such as XS, extra small, small, medium, large, XL, and XSL. That is extra large. So in this t-shirt size estimate, the development team is asked to evaluate a story and give it one of the t-shirt sizes. So based on the complexity of the user story, and so if we think that probably in this task the DB team have to put that much efforts, and the complexity would be this much. So accordingly, could be assigning them the user story points, whether it is an M or an L task. So similarly, we'll assign all the user stories their estimates, whether it is XS, S, M, and L, and through this way, we'll estimate the user story points. So the next technique that can be used is large, uncertain, or small. So in this technique, um, those user stories are chosen, which which can be estimated. Probably that if we feel that for this user story we cannot determine like what method can be used to solve that user story, so probably we give it as uncertain, which can be discussed further and evaluated, and we can evaluate the story points at the later stage. Those user story which can be evaluated, we either give them the label as large estimate or small estimate, and similarly we give the estimate for the user story for the whole product backlog. Probably this technique is used when we first made up the product backlog. And this is helpful in that scenario. But afterwards, once the product backlog is defined, this technique is not that useful, and probably we'd be choosing Fibonacci technique in that case. So for the product, a predictive approach. So predictive approach would be used when we have a waterfall methodology. That means we have activities uh, instead of user stories. Activities such as requirement gathering, development, testing, like these. So the technique that can be used would be program evaluation review technique, that is PERT, or rough order of magnitude. So let's first discuss what is PERT technique. So the PERT technique, which stands for program evaluation review technique, is used to identify the time it takes to finish a particular task or activity. For this technique, we evaluate the three time, that is optimistic, that is the least amount of time that would be needed. And if we think that everything falls into the place, this would be the time that would be required. Second is pessimistic. If we feel that probably if none of the things fall into place and there would be probably what we have thought, the use the whole requirement cannot be developed through in that way, then what would be the time that is required? That is a pessimistic time. And the last one is most likely time. That would be what we think would be the reasonable estimate that would be uh, that we need to give so that this task can be completed. So based on these three parameters, these three time, we will evaluate the PERT formula and we give that activity that estimate. So the formula would be we have to add up the optimistic and pessimistic and we have to multiply the most likely four times and we have to divide the whole by 6. So it would be very near to the most likely and it may be far from optimistic or pessimistic. And usually it has been seen that it is 10% up or down from the most likely time. Next technique that is used for the in case of a predictive approach, that is ROM. That stands for rough order of magnitude. And so basically we do not evaluate much complexity and we do not see much complexity and we do not break down the user story or the activity. We just give a random estimate that probably this activity would be completed in this much amount of time. And in most of the cases, this estimate is far from what is actually uh, time that is used to complete that user story. So probably this technique is not much useful, but this would be faster. So in some of the cases, we use this technique as well. Hope you got an idea how to evaluate the story points and activities and what all the techniques that we can use to estimate the story points. Thanks.